Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are in Dénia, and I'm George Grisham, telling you about the history of Dénia, Valencia, and Spain. This is our second installment. Well, recorded in quite a sad day, as you can see. It's quite a grey day, but we're in quarantine anyway. So you can see the Castle Hill from here, Dénia's Castle Hill. The whole of Dénia is situated to the south of Castle Hill. That will be very important because our topic today is the Roman Dénia. Latin language, Dianium, Punic Wars, and all things like that. As always, the material is written by George Grisham with the help of Katharina Grisham, and the wonderful photography is supplied by Ivan Uhov. So, Dénia of Romans. The most important, one of two most important streets of Dénia is still called Calle Diana. Here it is, seen from the Castle Hill on a photograph done by Ivan Uhov. So why Diana? Calle in the very city, a street in the very center of Dénia. Why Diana? Okay, fine. Let's go step by step. And first of all, try to remember our peninsula, the Apennine Peninsula, was called Iberia originally. Romans gradually started calling it Hispania. The Romans, I mean. Hispania meaning either the land of rabbits or hares or the northern land. How come that it was Hispania, Iberia, that became the first foreign colony of ancient Rome? We have to go back to the Punic Wars, because in 270s, before Christ, Rome was quite small. Have a look. It was not even occupying the whole of Apennine Peninsula, this red color, whilst the important player in the Western Mediterranean was Carthago, okay, Carthagine. That was the biggest empire of the then times, of the 3rd century before Christ, and gradually Rome and Carthago came into a conflict. Their first conflict, the first Punic War, took part in 264 BC, and that was a fight for Sicily, Sicilia, as Italians called it, one of the most interesting pieces of land in the middle of Mediterranean. As you can see, there was a little Greek colony in green color in a wonderful white stone city of Syracuse. And Romans, okay, they started thinking about it and they went to war with Carthago in 264. They won. That was the first step towards Romans' domination in this part of Mediterranean. And then they started dreaming, having dreams about Spain, about Hispania or Iberia. What a wonderful land, full of lands good for agriculture, full of lands in the south. We have heard about Tartessos, the lands full of minerals, very important minerals. But the south of the peninsula was by that time occupied by Carthaginians. So the second conflict was inevitable. And actually this gentleman, the famous Hannibal, did help Romans to win over. Well, originally, of course, events started developing the Carthaginian way. Hannibal was a very young general at that time. I'm talking 218 before Christ. He was 25 years old, and he was commander-in-chief of all Carthaginian troops in Hispania, in Iberia. What he did? He besieged the city of Saguntum. Even now it's got very, very strong walls. By that time, by 218, Saguntum was an ally of Rome. Well, obviously they were expecting such a move from Carthago, and they decided to sign a peace treaty with Rome. So the moment Hannibal besieged Saguntum, the brave citizens of Saguntum put up a fight and also called Rome for help. Rome sent an expeditionary force, and even not waiting for their arrival, Hannibal did this famous march via Alp mountains with his elephants to the northern Italy, and then spent 16 years fighting Romans in Italy itself. The famous Battle of Cannae, one of the most famous battles in world military history, was won by Hannibal then. But unfortunately, whilst he was staying in Italy, Romans hit his motherland, Carthago, won an important battle in Zama in 202 before Christ, and actually won the Second Punic War. So technically, Rome became the biggest power, the most important power in Western Mediterranean, and that all started in Saguntum, in Shativa, where Hannibal's troops were located. And Shativa is only 80 kilometers from here, from Dénia. So Rome made a big move. When you go to Sevilla, please don't forget to visit the Square of Spain, where you will see 50 provinces of Spain represented in these beautiful tiles. So the Alicante province shows Carthaginian troops with their animals and here. So yes, Punic War finished as a victory of Rome, but it took Rome another 200 years, full 200 years, to win over the whole peninsula, the whole Iberian Peninsula or Hispania. This map is like 500 or 600 years later. This is the top, the zenith of Roman might, Roman power in Iberia. You can see the network of roads which were built all over the peninsula. There were 4 main roads. Via Augusta was going from Taraco, modern-day Tarragona, via Valencia, on towards Hispalis, Sevilla. Some people are saying that first the modern city of Sevilla was called Hispalis, and only then Hispania became Hispania. Then the road Via de la Plata was going up north from Hispalis via Emerita Augusta to the present-day Galicia, Asturica Augusta. Then from Asturica Augusta, the northern road to Caesarea Augusta, the present-day Saragossa, and back to Taraco. And there was a diagonal road from Caesarea Augusta to Emerita Augusta. What we can see here, there was a Valencia as a town. Valentia was started by Romans in the 2nd century BC. But by that time, our Dianium already existed as a port. This road didn't exist because really the mountains here were quite impenetrable. So Romans actually built a one-way road, or if you can say blind, cul-de-sac, to Dianium, which was one of the most important ports in the whole Gulf of Valencia. That was the best port. And Dianium was called after this goddess. We remember that under Greeks, the little settlement was probably called Artemison, after the goddess Artemide, and Diana is the same goddess. So Dianium became one of the most important ports of Rome. See this Roman town to the north from Castle Hill, the other side of Castle Hill. Nobody knows why Romans decided to locate their house there, but anyway, it was a proper house, a proper town, with a forum, with streets, with piers, with warehouses, with tombstones, and so forth. Here it is. When you're looking from the Castle Hill, you can see this empty place, still empty place, which is called HORT de Marane, the garden of Marane, of the family of Marane. And here is our chief archaeologist of Dénia, Mr. Gisbert, giving his interview in the middle of HORT de Marane, where the excavations for the all the Roman artifacts are still going on. Ordemaran, the place of Roman town, the sea was actually as far as here, this street here. In the following 2,000 years, it actually, went back. So the sea is now some 200 meters further. But at that time, the sea was nearly touching the, as you can see on this painting, nearly touching the castle hill. And we had the Temple of Diana. These are the remnants of Temple of Diana in Portugal, in Evora. We actually visited this little, pretty little town last year. And you can find out much more details about Roman Dianium in the new Museo de Mar, which is located in Dénia's fishing port. You will get to know everything about the amphoras, and you will get to know everything about the triangle of trade in the Western Mediterranean 2.1 thousand years ago, where wine, olive oil, the famous garum sauce from the southern Spain were very much appreciated and were carried in amphoras around the Mediterranean basin. And of course, Dianium here, Valencia, Saguntum were all important participants, with Dianium having the most important port in the area. And these are the goods which were carried along the Trilogia del Comercio Mediterráneo, triangle of maritime trade. Spain, Hispania, was so important that Rome sent here a young star, a young political and military leader called Quintus Sertorius. Quintus Sertorius came to Spain when he was about 35, 40 years old. Here he is with a little antelope, which is also the symbol of the goddess of Diana. Sertorius was very cunning. He decided to train Spanish, or rather Iberian children in Roman ways. So opened up schools for them and so forth. And when a civil war started in Rome, Sertorius became the first separatist leader in the world. He decided to secede the whole peninsula, the whole Hispania from Rome. There was a war started, and the most unfortunately, his Roman counterpart in the war was the famous Pompeius, Pompey, as we know him from Shakespeare. He came over even before he approached the troops of Sertorius. Sertorius himself was killed by his own generals, unfortunately. And of course, Pompeius finished the winning all Sertorius troops, went back to Italy, defeated the rebellion of Spartacus, and then, of course, we know about his strife against Antony and Caesar, and so on and so forth. So one of his first important deeds was here in Spain and here in Dénia, because Dianium was one of the most important ports for the separatist Sertorius. So here's Hans Holbein as he was depicting Sertorius. And here is Peña d'Águila, the nest of an eagle. It is up there on the mountain of Mango. And that was where the soldiers of Sertorio took one of their last battles against the troops of Pompeo. What do we have left from Roman times? Not too much, but first of all, the tombstones. There are quite a few of them found in Dianium area, and two of them, quite beautiful, stand by the entrance to our town hall, our Ayuntamiento. You can see them at the photograph taken by Ivan Uhov. Of course, all the beautiful photographs in these presentations are provided by Ivan Uhov. Okay, we also have a few Roman villas on the big territory of the big Dénia, including the Almadrava at Elspatblets, which is some 15 kilometers to the north from the center of the town. Quite a few amphora were found there. Also, if we go up the mountain to the water cave, Cova d'Agua, that water cave actually contains absolutely crystal clear, beautiful water because it's filtered throughout the mountain. These are the fantastic views from water cave down on Dénia. And when you are entering the cave, you will see a stone on which there is an inscription. And hereby were located the soldiers of Roman legion, number 12, Gemini, who were guarding the water cave 2,100 years ago. Like quite a few Roman traces in Chabia or Havia, our neighboring town across the mountain, including the baths of Queen by the sea. All right, Romans left. Well, Romans left Spain, left Hispania in 4th, 5th century, our era. What did they leave behind them? Of course, the language. The Romance language are now dominating 1/3 of the world. And here, the Latin language gradually transformed, excuse me, gradually transformed into Mozarabic language, and then separately into Spanish, proper Spanish or Castilian, into Catalan, into Valenciano, Occident, and so on and so forth. So what we have from Roman, let's say 700 years, 7 centuries of Roman domination on this peninsula is, of course, the modern languages. When Romans left, well, the vacuum was quickly filled by Germanic tribes, by Suevi, Vandali, Alani. The Roman Empire still existed at that time. So they asked their new friends, Visigoths, Visigothi, to punish the Germanic invaders and in 6th century, our era, Visigoths set up their own kingdom, which occupied the larger part of Iberian Peninsula. It was a very developed kingdom, and we still have lots of administrative bits and pieces in Spanish language, which are going 1,500 years before. The south of the peninsula was occupied by Byzantine, so it was a province of the Eastern Roman Empire. And this is why in our Valenciana we have this icon. This icon dates back to 7th century, our era, and it is the saint icon of, it was the saint icon of the Kingdom of Valencia. And it's still regarded very high, is kept in very high respect in Valencia. You can see it in monastery or the suburbs of Valencia proper. So by that time, by the year of 700, Hispania was more or less totally West-Gothic, Visigothic, with their capital in Toledo. And Dénia was not forgotten. Dénia had a bishopric, it was a bishopric, and there was a bishop in charge of Dénia and surrounding. I think that the town, that's quite a good question, but I think that the town was still called Dianium, the Roman way. So we're now here in the year of 700. The peninsula is totally Visigothic, is split into a number of bishoprics, and Dénia is within the Carthaginian one. And after the year 700, of course, the destinies of this peninsula have changed. So a very big change for the next 800 years. And we'll be speaking about it in the chapter 3, in part 3. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for being with us. Best regards from George Grisham from Spain, Dénia. Goodbye.